So you're in the market for a Miami Cuban Link chain. You're not Jeff Bezos, you don't have $1 million bucks. I know you've been getting a bunch of advertisement out there for all these crappy machine-made chains. Well, here at Gus Villa Jewelry, we hand make all of our chains, and I'm about to show you guys how we make them, plus save you thousands of dollars in the process. Let's go.
Gus Villa Jewelry.
So first things first is number one, a Miami Cuban Link chain should be made in actual Miami. And here we are walking over to the shop where we actually hand make our jewelry as opposed to all the Instagram ads that you're seeing right now. A big prerequisite of making a Miami Cuban Link chain is, of course, getting Cuban coffee, which is what we're getting right now. You must drink Cuban coffee before you make the chain. Una doble colada para allá. This is the best coffee maker in downtown, best coffee in Miami. Rule number one.
Listo, igual. El hombre que va a comer, si le da ganas de comer sushi, va para allá, a un momentico ahí, a tope ahí, rapidito. Si quiere ver los canguros, va a pustrarle un ratico ahí, ya vemos ahí. Dale, listo, igual.
Llegó el jefe. Ahí está.
Por ahí está. Gracias, Gustavo.
Papi chulo, cafecito. Pero pule bien, no empiece. Ahí, ese pulidito ahí por encimita como hace vos.
Seguro.
So,
Dice
ahora,
que me está enseñando la técnica misteriosa para hacerlo más rápido.
sí. Vilmita, estás como Chicho sin guantes ahora, ¿te crees?
Yo siempre he pulido sin guantes, ¿sabes? Nunca me acostumbré con guantes. Nunca.
Eso es cuero de leyenda.
Jefe, buen día, jefe. ¿Cómo amaneciste?
Mira, a las 2 de la mañana yo venía a probar el venir.
So if you were expecting white gloves and a beautiful setting, like if this was a Tiffany shop, this isn't really how it happens. This is where all the magic happens. This is the shop. We got machines and we are working handmade with everything. So all of our chains start right here. This is the heartbeat of where we make chains. It's called the melting. We're gonna grab raw silver and throw it in this crucible. We light a torch and it's gonna melt down that gold or silver into liquid. Once it's melting hot, ready, we throw it into one of these bad boys right here and create the bar. That bar is gonna become the prerequisite of the wire that we're gonna make, which is the second part in making a Cuban Link chain. This beautiful machine right here is called a rolling mill. It's probably one of the bigger ones you're ever gonna find. This is a Cavallini straight from Italy. This monster can consume anywhere from 25 to 30 kilos of metal in about 30 seconds. It's an absolute animal. What the process is you put the bar through these rolling mills and you tighten the rolling mills every single time you pass it through. As it goes out on the other side, it thins out the metal and you grab what's once a big fat bar and turn it into a nice, what we call pre-wire. Once the pre-wire is done, you use this beautiful machine right here called a stretch bench. You're gonna use these draw plates and bring that pre-wire from a square shape into a round shape. Now it's very important for you to measure the thickness of that wire because the thickness of the wire measures the thickness of the chain. Once the wire is done, we're going to roll up the links using one of these beautiful machines right here, saving time and saving elbow grease. But we're gonna wrap up the wire in one of these things called a mandrel. This mandrel is spaced ovally, as you can see, and it has the perfect spacing that we've come up with over thousands and thousands of times making this Cuban Link chain to get the spacing just right. And that's the difference between machine and handmade primarily, the spacing between the links. So we roll up this wire around this copper mandrel here, and then we cut them right down the middle. This is a blade called a jeweler's saw. We run the wrapped up links right through here, cut them right in half, and you get what are called the jump rings. These jump rings are then going to be soldered, and the chain is created initially. Once we got the jump rings done, here's where we solder them together. Now what he's doing there is using solder, which is primarily made up of silver and zinc. It has a lower melting point than the silver itself. So you can probably see what he's doing right now, which is heating up the silver right to where it becomes liquid again. But since the solder melts faster, it melts about a second right before the silver does. And it allows it to run through the middle of the two links and fuse them together. It's a beautiful dance that he's doing right before disaster strikes. You introduce the solder and you fuse them together. If taking a little bit too long, you melt the whole thing and you start all over. Once the links are all soldered together, you get this kind of pattern that goes one link one way, one link the other way. But of course, a Cuban link chain lays flat. So this machine is a custom-built turner machine. And what it does is we hook up the links onto one of these. It's going to turn the links so that they can lay flat and it can get ready to be filed. Now, if soldered correctly, this should spin and lay completely flat. If it's not soldered correctly, it could potentially break. Now, in a machine-made one, none of this actually happens because a machine does all of this. But this is the beauty about making anything handmade. It's gonna eventually fail because we're humans and we're not perfect. In this case, it didn't work out. But that's handmade, baby. Once that process is successful, you get the raw links right here. Now this is just a regular wooden board. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna lay it on top of this board. Now you're probably asking yourself, how is it attached to the board itself? Well, that's a process called shellac. Shellac is from the bug lac. It's the secretions that it releases. It almost looks kind of like a wax. You heat it up and you're gonna pour this wax-like substance right over the chain. And once it cools down, you pour a little bit of water onto it and it attaches perfectly on there. And then what you do is with a file, you hand file every one of those links. Now this is usually where the artistry of handmade comes from because you add your twist to it. Some people like a real flat look, some people like an oval look. I happen to be of the modern taste. I like a little bit of both. I want it to be nice and flat, but with an oval on the sides. And that's what we're doing here. Now, normally in an Italian-made one, this process doesn't happen. So the links are real bulky. On ours, they actually lay flat, they're tight, and they're, in my opinion, the more beautiful look. Then once it's completely filed, we attach these bad boys right here. They are called box locks. Now all this is in 950 silver. We don't use copper, we don't use brass, we don't use stainless steel. So we attach these bad boys onto the tips and that becomes the lock. It has two figure-8 clasps and the button that you slam in the middle to attach the two pieces. So here's what it looks like once the chain is raw. We've attached the box lock on there. It's nice and filed, but it has no real glisten, it has no real polish to it. So here's the final stage in creating a Miami Cuban Link chain, the polish. Now this is the first part, which is where we are going to begin to slightly file the links with a very, very thick buffer. It's not even considered a buffer, really. It's more of a sander, but it's removing all the imperfections of the piece. Once that's done, then the actual buffing process starts, which is what you're looking at over here. That's the final polish. He's giving it blue paste, which gives it that nice, shiny look. So here is the final voila moment. You have 950 silver, completely handmade. Nor machine, nor Italian, or Chinese made can get it because someone is physically buffing each and every one of these links. Now it doesn't finish here unless of course you like it. If 950 is your thing, the process is finished. We send you this exact piece to your house. However, if you do like gold over silver, here's where we can save you some money. This is the exact same way that I make my solid gold ones, except they're made in just plain silver, and afterwards we're plating them. And I'm gonna show you how we turn this silver into a beautiful gold look. So here's the final step. Once, of course, these silver, beautiful handmade chains are done, we now begin to plate them. Now, what's the difference between us and them? We plate ours with actual 14 karat gold. We went all the way to Phoenix, Arizona to buy this insane setup that you see right here. And what this does is it coats the gold over the silver. So all you're left is with two metals, silver and gold. That means no turning your neck green. That means no making it black after you wear it for a while. It just fades like anything else that's gold over silver. I'll explain to you guys briefly the process. What we do in this first bucket is first the electro cleaning. It removes all the imperfections on there, all the dust, all the grime, all the grease that we put on there with our fingers. And then we put it in an acid dip that once again cleans it. And finally, the gold bath. This essentially is around 100 grams of swirling 14 karat gold. It electroplates it from the silver onto the base metal. And what you're left with is a beautifully coated silver 14 karat vermeil piece. So there you have it. That's the entire process of how we make an actual Miami Cuban Link chain from scratch. I hope you guys learned something from that. Of course, if you're in the market for a Miami Cuban Link chain, now that you know the difference between the two, visit us at GusVillaJewelry.com and you can place your order there. As always, like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.